Hello all, I'd like to say hello to everyone watching this video, and this will be covering this channel's endeavors for APUSH. So the plan for this channel is to cover all of APUSH for the rising class of 2027 when I'm recording this, so for all those rising juniors who just took AP World, and to maybe cover all of AP Gov for the rising seniors, my class, the class of 2026. And of course, feel free to share this with anyone who may need help with anything, because I'm basing this off of a lot of the school's resources. So not only will you be getting the same information, but you'll also be getting it in a much more concise format that, despite being concise, is still a lot more detailed and will probably help with the test that you'll be given, especially if you're a rising junior at my school with Mr. Mistroda. Then you'll definitely be very well off, and even if you're in the regular history class, this will be very, very helpful for you, as you'll be getting a lot more details and a much better understanding compared to what generally the regular history teachers take Campbell. So APUSH specific, we're going to be covering every unit, units 1 through 9, with today's video being about unit 1, which, to be honest, really isn't anything. We're going to have content review, so I'm going to go over pretty much every detail, because this course is very detailed. Well, it's not really detail heavy, but knowing the details significantly helps. And I'm going to try and squeeze in as many AP questions from old tests, from College Board, wherever I can get any AP questions. I'm going to base this off of every resource that Mr. Mistroda, the APUSH teacher at our school, gives us. So that includes the Alan Brinkley textbook, the AMSCO book, which you're going to get around AP season, and every College Board quiz, tests, and I'm also basing this off of my own study guide that got me a 5 and that helped a lot of other people get 4s and 5s, and the Princeton review book, and a whole lot of other guides that have been supplemented to me from people who have gotten a 5. And ideally, when I finish some of these units, or even when I finish the whole course, I'm going to have some dedicated videos to just synthesizing information to, although I didn't write it in here, ideally to DBQ review, LEQ review, maybe even MCQ review. We'll see. Like I'm just making this to help out those who need the help, and for those who have asked me for help. So, course overview. We have 4 different sections for the AP. If you're familiar with APs and if you've taken AP World, then this is nothing new, but it's still worthwhile to cover. Multiple choice questions, 55 questions, 55 minutes. Ideally, you're going to take half a minute for most of these questions, as for most of them, you can read the question and have your answer, but still read the prompt, as long as it's not a long prompt. But yeah, ideally you're gonna want to have a lot of spare time. Go to the units that you are the most versed in, so that you can just get those quick and easy out of there. It covers 40% of the exam. Well, it's worth 40% of the exam, and all of the units are covered, and they usually go in chronological order. So the first, say, like 5 questions will be about units 1, units 2, and so on and so forth. The short answer questions have 3 questions that you're required to fill out, but 4 questions are supplied. So you're gonna have question 1 and question 2, which you have to fill out, but then you're gonna be given an option between question 3 and question 4. Then you choose which one you want to do, but you're gonna get to read the prompt for it, and you're gonna have to see the questions, and then you can choose. You get 40 minutes for this. Ideally, you want to spend 10 minutes on each, so that you have spare time for all the questions. You can go back, edit it, make it more concise. Covers 20% of the scoring, and it covers at most 4 units. So 1 unit per question, pretty much. So really, you have to answer questions for 3 different units. DBQ, the document-based question, is 1 question / prompt, and it has 7 different documents, whether it be visual-based, whether it be a graph, a chart, like a newspaper, or it can just be pure text. It can be like a long excerpt. This is all part of the it's all part of the part 3 for the AP, which is the written section, which is shared with the LEQ. And Between the two, you're given an hour and 40 minutes. I'd recommend you take 55 minutes for the DBQ, as it's a lot more demanding in terms of how attentive you need to be to it, how concise you need to be if you want to juice out all the points you can. Like, you really need to spend time on this. You really need to, like, synthesize every single source if you really want to have a stellar DBQ. It covers 25% of the scoring, and usually it'll only cover one unit, but in rare cases, it'll span over an extended time period. So, say you're given a time period like 1850 to the present, and it'll give you some issue and it'll give you documents across many time periods. In that case, it covers one topic, but it doesn't necessarily cover one unit of history that is covered in the course. Or in a different scenario, you'll get a prompt that gives you a set time period that fits in the time period for a unit. So, say you're given a prompt on the Industrial Revolution, and they'll give you your prompt, they'll give you your documents, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. The long essay question, the LEQ, has one prompt that you're required to write, but it gives you the option between three different prompts. Each of these prompts covers a different unit. Usually they're arranged in chronological order. So you'll get one, the first one will be on like unit 2, second one will be on like unit 5, last one will be on unit 9, something like that. I would recommend you spend 45 minutes on this, but honestly, if you're taking APUSH, Mr. Strodo will hammer you on LEQs. You will know how to write an LEQ very well, especially if you can write fast. If you can write fast, you are blessed and you will have a great time. This covers 15% of the exam, and like I said, covers 3 units. So now I want to jump into the actual content for Unit 1 before the Europeans came to America. I want to apologize for the very lackluster design of these slides. Honestly, I really didn't give this much mind because this is nothing new. Really, it's just a handful more details, especially if you've taken AP World, or for a regular kid if you've taken Global. This is nothing new. Like, Native Americans, a tribal lifestyle focused on a more animist belief system where it's the primary piety is focused on animals and spirits. There's a heavy focus on agriculture with different irrigation systems set in place. The main tribes present are the Algonquin tribes, the Iroquois Confederacy, which will later form, but there are Iroquois tribes present during this time period being from, say, 1400, let's say 1400. So not far off from when the initial Spanish incursion happens, and the woodland Indians. And I want to bring specifically to attention Tenochtitlan because this this advanced civilization shows that really the Native Americans weren't just they weren't primal. They weren't like these tribal animals that they're often depicted to be, or that Europeans depict them to be, which later we'll see in the course in like 3 videos from now, which I'm very excited to talk about. But they were an advanced civilization. They were capable of handling themselves. They had massive architecture and they had infrastructure. I think that's a well right there. I don't know if my mouse is visible in this video, but I think that's a well. And they had economy because I believe that's a commerce stand. They had their own irrigation. They have boats. It's not like they weren't able to handle themselves. And a common justification, at least later in history, is that interference into their lifestyle is beneficial for them. It's saving them. But I feel like Tenochtitlan and with the Aztecs shows that really like Native Americans are capable of handling themselves and they can be an advanced civilization. And who knows how history would have gone if Chris Columbus didn't land in America in 1492 and he didn't introduce Spain to America, but this is the timeline we're in. And I want to bring to your attention 3 G's, which are the 3 reasons why Spain came to America: God, glory, God, gold, and glory. So, starting with God, the Spaniards are Catholic, and their main goal, one of their goals in coming to America was to spread Catholicism, which they did through the Catholic mission system, where they would send out ships filled with priests, like in AP World, I believe Friar. I don't know his name, but it was Friar something. There was a friar, and he would actively spread out Catholicism to Native Americans and even to slaves. Moving on to gold, which I believe was the primary reason, as you'll see in this course, economics has a severe undertone in American history, where the Spanish attempt to colonize the Americas, starting with the Caribbean, to establish a stronger global foreign economy. So I want you to think, first of all, why specifically in the Caribbean? What about the Caribbean is so great? The weather, the climate. It's a very humid climate. It's not too hot where you're going to burn your butt off, but it's also not too cold where crops won't grow. Here in the Caribbean is where crops like sugarcane grow, and sugarcane was highly valued in the market during this time. Again, referencing AP World, sugar was very much desired by the Portuguese and the Spanish, and it was very present in South America and Brazil, I think. But AP World doesn't have much to do with this right now. All we really need to understand is that coming into America, the Spanish were focused on setting up crop systems. They were focused on setting up different charter companies and different ways to ensure trade and that goods were being pumped into the what's it called, the trade system, the global trade system. And the final reason why the Spanish came to America, I believe, is for glory, to have this stronger global power and to kind of revel in the fact that they are like they can take on these wild lands, like they are doing things that are like seemingly like impossible, and if not impossible, then seemingly just like insurmountable, like taking over such a huge landmass and taking over these civilizations. And another sense of glory is it again, like you're helping these seemingly primitive people. Like I believe those two reasons are like why glory is such a main factor in the Spanish coming into America and really settling themselves down here. So consequences of the Spanish coming into America. Well, obviously, the Spanish have their foothold in America. They're bringing in more ships. They're setting up plantations for slaves, which, with in here, this also sets up the slave trade. But believe the most important thing here is that diseases spread all across America and plagued the natives, causing so much death and disease and famine. And it's very impactful to the natives, and it really hurt their ability to fight back, if anything. Crossbreeding also happens, again, AP World or even global. I'm not sure about the global curriculum, but with AP World at least, we talked about crossbreeds of slaves and Native American, not slaves, Native Americans and Spanish crossbreeds that were slaves, called mestizos and mulattoes. And like I said earlier, this really just kicks off the African American slave trade. And it also sets up like subjugation of not only African Americans but Native Americans, which we'll see a lot later in the Jacksonian era with Andrew Jackson. So that's Unit 1 pretty much. Honestly, you're not going to see much of this on the AP. Like, for my AP at least, we had like 3 questions at most on Unit 1. Then it went straight into the next unit, which is the colonies. So you can kind of see why I didn't put that much effort into this one. But with the next video, I promise it'll be a lot more well done, at least in terms of slides. And I will see you there. Bye bye.